LSU had their spring scrimmage, spring game, open practice, whatever you want to call it, on Saturday. I was in attendance, but also we have brought in the professional, the hardest working man in Baton Rouge sports. John Eads is here with us from WAFB 9 Sports to talk about Saturday.
We've got a notebook.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize that they were going to cut us off as quick as they did on Saturday with the video coverage, and they made us after period 6. We had to turn our cameras off, and John was much more prepared than me as he had his notebook ready to go.
I'm just lucky. This is my planner.
I just had one thing. I just need a piece of paper.
Seriously, that's it. Just one pen, which during fall camp last year, I was notorious for losing the one pen I brought to practice. So I just bring my whole pen case now. So luckily I had a pen and some paper to write down. We took up the events portion of the planner.
There we go.
Just get a new one.
It gets the job done.
Yeah.
You know? Just you know.
Never do that.
Well, see, I had my phone, and I was just like, I had my voice memos open, and I was like, Tyree Adams beat on the
yeah, you're like a lawyer there.
Yeah, like I was like literally like I was talking
you're
into
in
my
suits.
phone.
My dad used to do that, bro.
It was hilarious.
So funny.
I couldn't think of anything to do. I finished getting the stuff uploaded to my laptop, so I was just watching, and I was like, well, I mean, I can remember most of this, but like a lot of it's going to get lost in my mind, and so I just started recording on the voice memos. But what were some of your main takeaways from everything? Because obviously we got the video put out. We were able to record the first 6 periods of the practice, but then we had to turn the cameras off. But we got to stay and watch the
3
rest.
tight end sets.
The 3 tight
I
end.
did see that.
The 2 how about a 2 quarterback set?
Suck it, Stephen Miller. I told you. Red zone offense. How do y'all like my new offense?
What did he say?
He said that this is not even worth talking about. La-di-da, whatever the fuck. Yeah, Juwan Johnson's a weapon. And LSU needs help in the red zone, whether it be 3 tight ends, 4 tight ends, 5 tight ends, Juwan Johnson.
I'll say this. They lined up and did like 2-point conversion kind of plays there. And when Juwan Johnson was in, I don't think the defense stopped him once.
He was very dynamic. He was so dynamic.
Like, they scored 7 or 8 consecutive times, which is hard to do. You can't even do that in the video game. I had a 2-point conversion.
I went home and tried.
Well, I was playing in a game yesterday, and I had 1 2-point conversion attempt, and I went back for a pick 6.
Oh, there you go. That's the game.
So you can't even do that in a video game.
Right.
Just saying. So that was
Juwan
really
Johnson
impressive.
video game numbers
Yes.
in high school.
Yeah.
Yes. What was impressive, so that, I mean, they line up with Garrett and Juwan in the backfield, and then Garrett goes in motion onto like the left side of the offensive
5
line.
tight end set.
And I was like, let's
Give him
go.
a fade ball.
Direct snap, touchdown.
Yeah.
But what were some of your main takeaways from Saturday?
Well, I think that's why they didn't want us filming after the 6th period, even though they still snuck in one of those plays for us to film at the end, which was weird, is that they didn't want other coaches to see what they were doing with Juwan. So,
yeah.
I mean, Brian Kelly talked about it after the practice, the scrimmage, whatever you want to call it. He will play and be used by the team this year, especially in the red zone. So that wasn't just, oohs and ahs type stuff for us to see and talk about in April. I think that's actually going to be a factor this season. I do want to say, piggybacking off the Kyron Lacey segment, then I'll give you my takeaways. Thoughts and prayers certainly with the family. I had a chance to talk with his dad leading into the season just about Kyron's life, his upbringing, decision to leave UL, go to LSU, what that means to him, the things that he struggled and grappled with as a kid and battled with in high school and still was battling with as a guy in his 20s like many of us do. A guy that liked to have fun, like you said, has a $1 million smile, really good dancer, just brought a lot of joy to a lot of people. Obviously the highlight plays he made and the dances that would follow. But a guy that did, struggle with other things as well. Brian Kelly talked about it in media availabilities, the maturity and things like that. And I think he was just often misunderstood, Kyron Lacey. So his dad would say it and tell it a lot better than me. So if you want to listen to that, just look up Kenny Lacey interview. You might find that I'm certainly not promoting that other than to give you guys more insight into who Kyron is from his father, who was with him his entire life and spoke openly yesterday advocating for mental health and for parents to check on their kids and things like that. So that's what I have to say about that. As far as the scrimmage, I think my biggest takeaway was how good the ends looked, the defensive ends, the edges. Like, you can read these. I don't know if you can read my handwriting, but we got Pyburn pressure. Pyburn wins 1-on-1. Some of the interior guys looked good. Damian Shanklin getting some pressure. Jamari Butler gets a sack. Like, a lot of the transfer edges you brought in had really good days. And I was watching a film study back that Carter Bryant did, this morning. Yes. He does a really good job with his film studies and his breakdowns and stuff like that. And there were plays that Pyburn and some of these other guys, Patrick Payton, made that you can't even notice unless you go back and watch it from a different angle. The pressures, the run stuffs, getting their hands up, affecting passes, things like that. So that was really impressive to see. I think they're going to be extremely dynamic there, and it's going to help them not only get pressure on the quarterback for passing, but stopping the run game as well, which is something that LSU has struggled with a bit at times. And in the secondary, Mansour Delane, I thought, had a really, really good day. A couple PBUs, getting starting cornerback reps. He definitely looks the part. There was one play he made early in the scrimmage where it was a deep ball down the sideline, coming right at you. Bauer Sharp ran a wheel route. They also had a couple of go routes in front of that. Delane was tasked with covering one of those go routes. And like he was playing in a video game, he came off that route, circled around, and affected the pass to Sharp in what ultimately ended up being an incomplete pass. And that's just one play, but it shows the savvy, the qualities that he has that you can't coach. That's just instincts right there. You keep your eyes in the backfield. You see what the quarterback's looking at. You use past experience, which he has a lot of, to think about what they might be trying to do with this play. And he came off of that route and essentially covered two guys on one play, which was phenomenal. And that's playmaking ability and critical thinking, I guess, if you will, that I don't think we've seen from the LSU secondary in the past couple of years, and that's maybe why they've struggled so much. So those are probably my two biggest takeaways. Loved how the D-line played, specifically the edges for the most part, and then Delane, I think, is a lock to be a corner.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Mansour had a really good day to go along with a very good spring. And I 100% agree with your point of just the maturity and the experience that he has, where he's very savvy. He understands the position. He understands the defense very well, and that's a piece that you need on this defense to make the improvements you need. But to go along with the edge rushers, because they did have such an impressive day, to go along with, like I said, a very impressive spring that they've had. They have so much experience there with the guys that they brought in to go along with some of these younger and unexperienced guys, like a Kalaj Cobbins and a Gabe Relaford and a Dylan Carpenter and a Damian Shanklin. How much concern on the flip side do you have about the offensive line? Because obviously the edge rushers were very prominent and they stood out and they played so well where they were able to get pressures and TFLs and sacks. But that can raise concern somewhat when you're playing against yourself, where why isn't the offensive line playing better and able to step up and stop these plays some of these times? So how much concern do you have after Saturday looking at the way the offensive line performed?
That's the thing about the spring games, is a good play for one of your players is a bad play for the other
Right.
one. And that's why like a spring scrimmage against a Tulane or a UL would be fun to see.
Which Kelly said he's open to.
Exactly. That was exciting. That would be fun to see, because then you can really make good determinations on, okay, it was only a good or a bad play for LSU one way. You know what I mean? Not two ways. A little concerned, and there's reasons to be concerned and to not be concerned. Obviously, on the one hand, that was basically the starting offensive line that you saw for the bowl game against Baylor, and they dominated in that. Now, you might make the argument that LSU's current defense is better than what Baylor put out there in the bowl game last year. But on the flip side of everything, you need to think about this isn't the final version of the offensive line. Like, you had Braylon Moore and Josh Thompson running with the twos. The way I see it, the way I want to forecast it, is that Moore is going to eventually get that starting center role. Chester will kick over to guard at one spot or the other. And then Josh Thompson, who's been playing tackle, has had some good moments, some not so good moments. I think he's more of a guard. They want him to emerge as a guard. But he came in on the spring so late. They kind of just had to put him in where he could fit in, right? And the thing with Braylon Moore, you're not just going to put him in as the starting center in the spring when you have DJ Chester back. You're going to give him an opportunity to keep that job, and you got to make Moore earn it. Sure, you paid him money, and theoretically, when you do free agency in the NFL, you pay guys money to start and command roles, but just because you paid them doesn't mean they're going to do that. I will say, though, that Moore's looked good. He had a couple of individual reps. They were doing some duo blocking, and he absolutely just rolled a guy like it was a snowball. Over, which I have a video of it. I got to get it out at some point, but that was really impressive. And the second offensive line looked good. Like when Michael Van Buren was running his plays, when he was out there, he had good pass protection. The run blocking was pretty good at most points, and I think that's because a lot of the guys that are on your second offensive line will end up being on your first offensive line. So the starting five, watching the film back this morning, Carter again doing a great job of depicting it and slowing it down and letting you see some of the reps. Like Weston Davis struggled a little bit, the interior struggled a little bit, but they're also working on new concepts. With Alex Atkins, he likes to run counter. He likes to pull guys. He likes to move guys. Like, it's kind of new for people. You know, they're trying to switch up and change the run game. So guys are still getting it down. But what Brian Kelly said, and we aired this on our channel last night, kind of following up on the spring game coverage, is that they really tried to build versatility in the offensive line room this spring. So they didn't go into it thinking, okay, this is our five, this is what the five needs to be. It was, let's just get guys out there, put them in different roles, and then they'll really find answers and make determinations like 8 or 9 practices into fall camp. So it's really early. You would have liked to see a better performance, I think, from what your starting five was in that 13th practice of spring ball. But I don't think there's any need to really panic at this point, because think about it this way. Last year, I think I was watching my spring report breaking down the spring game, and I talked about how the defense struggled, the offense was great, the offensive line mauled, but then we get to the season, and that wasn't the case. Yeah. So I wouldn't make extremely overarching, whatever the word is, determinations based on the spring game.
Yeah, and you would prefer the defense to be a little bit ahead at this point with where they're at.
It might just be that good.
Right.
It might just be an elite group.
And to talk about this edge rushing room, some of the size in that group. Jack Pyburn at 6'4", 264. Patrick Payton, 6'5", 255. Gabe Relaford is 6'2", 268. Jamari Butler, 6'5", 260. I mean, that's
big dudes.
Yeah, those are some physically imposing guys. But I agree with you. I don't think the 5 you saw go out there throughout the spring and on Saturday are the first 5. Mm-hmm. I think there definitely will be some shakeup. And if if you didn't see that after the spring practice, I think Saturday kind of proved that there's going to be some shakeup at some of those positions.
Now we wait.
Yeah, now we'll see. We'll have a long summer to get back to fall camp in August to see what it looks like. But all in all, it was a good day, Lloyd.
Well, when you talk about what they brought in defensively, like you talked about, like you paid them to play. Like that's what you got on the defensive edges. Like I'm sure people, and that would be the one point of concern that people would look at and go, oh, you lost your left tackle, lost your right tackle. It's hard to justify them performing poorly whenever you brought in, 3 veteran guys that are coming in here with a mission, with a job to do, and that have played the position their entire lives. Like a Pyburn, a Patrick Payton.
Right.
All of these guys are coming in to, like, this is their money year. And there's a reason that you would say, if you want to make it positive, right, you evaluated correctly, it feels like.
Right.
You went and got starters. You went and got guys. And on the offensive line side, get your degree from Northwestern later. Come to practice.
You can graduate later.
You can do that online.
Yeah, I need that.
But I do think, like, those guys that you on the offensive line as well, like, there was some late timeout, some kind of deals with the snap again. And DJ Chester's he's not going to give the job away, but he also is going to play at some point on the offensive line. Yeah, he's part of your best 5. And I do think that that's where you're starting to see, like, not going to give it to him, but also, like, you see yourself starting to work in. Was there any DJ Pickett, anything that y'all saw from aside? When you say Monster Lane's going to play, like, out boundary corner?
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Pickett had one nice pass breakup that I can think of off of memory, but he didn't have. I think he had
burned by Chris Hilton.
He had a TFL, I think, at one point as well.
Yeah. He broke out. It was hard for me to see because I was trying to film and the ref was in my way, and they wouldn't let us go into the end zone.
Nussmeier was on his ass.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, he threw a fade ball. Well, actually, it was Van Buren that threw this one. He threw a fade ball cross field, which I'm not a fan of. That was a long throw to Nick Anderson, and Pickett was in coverage, and that was incomplete. And Nick Anderson's no slouch. I mean, he's put up big numbers in
Yeah.
Oklahoma, so that's impressive.
Speaking of physically put together.
Yes, he is. He's just
Looked
trying to
outstanding in the uniform.
he's trying to get back to full health coming
Yes.
off the injury. So, not a lot from Pickett, but there weren't a ton of opportunities for him
Yeah.
to make those flashes. And then, they did like a 7-on-7 thing, but it was on the other side of the field. I was more focused on the offensive line versus the defensive line. So he may have done some things over there as well. But I'm sure we'll see more. Hopefully at practices, we'll get to stay for a little while on Tuesday and Thursday coming up this week, and then at fall camp next year. But I think it's nice to know that you at least have one of those corners
Yes.
solidified in Delane, without a doubt. And then on the other side, it's either going to be an Ashton Stamps, who had some good moments. PJ
Yep.
Woodland had some
An
good
interception.
moments. Yep. Some good tackles in open space
Yep.
as well. And then DJ Pickett. Those guys are all going to compete for that other cornerback job.
Yeah, and Marcus Cooley was back there at safety. Him and Toviano were the two starters at the safety position. Toviano had 7 tackles, I believe, during some of the
day.
sessions, and so he had a good day. Cooley played well as well. I think he had that blocked field goal.
He did. Yeah.
He
Oh,
broke through the line and blocked a field goal. We'll get to the special teams a little bit later. But speaking of freshmen, Harlan Berry, to me, was a standout on Saturday, where it's going to be very difficult for Brian Kelly and the staff to not have the freshman on the field. He's not. I mean, Caden Durham was not really a part of the spring. I think
I didn't
he
even
started
notice that
it
until after.
Yeah, he started out there. He had 2 carries or so, and then had an ankle sprain, and he should be back later this week. But so that more opportunities arose for number 22, and he's special in the open field. Like, he caught a couple out of the backfield and just put his foot in the ground and made 2 guys miss, and then got up the sideline. Like, it's going to be very hard for them to not put this guy on the field in some capacity. Caden Durham is your running back 1, but Harlan Berry's special.
Brings a different element to the table. Caden also excels as a receiver, but Berry just has a different speed to him, I think. Like this play right here. Catch, boom, bye. Like he's already
He's going to score.
10, 15 yards past the guy that was right in front of him. He just has a different speed that he moves at. But you also need to be able to run between the tackles.
Yes.
Like, you're not just going to be a gadget player that catches some swing passes and things like that, because that's pretty easy to game plan against. Like, when you see Berry in the game and he's the only running back in,
Right.
if that's what you're doing, they're not running between the tackles, so then you can play some coverage or whatever it is you need to do. But when he ran between the tackles, I like to see him put his head down and run with
Not
seemingly
scared of the
no
contact.
fear. Yeah,
Yeah.
he even ran a couple guys over. What he needs to get better at, I suppose, is that physicality, though. Like,
Right.
there was a play where he found a crease up the middle. Deshaun Spears came down, and, it's a one-on-one situation. And Brian Kelly has mentioned before, if you're a running back at LSU, you have to have the ability to
Right.
beat somebody one-on-one, like break a tackle, account for one player. There's never going to really be a play where, everybody's blocked and you don't have to do anything except run. You're going to have to beat somebody. And in that situation, Spears got him and blew him right back. So I think that's the next step for Berry. We know what he can do as a receiver. You saw it on display.
Right.
He's only been on campus for a couple months, so this is something he's always been able to do.
Yeah.
What he needs to do now, and this is obvious and it's been the biggest talking point, is put on weight and be able to match the speed and physicality of the game in the trenches, because that's what you need to do as an SEC running back. So he'll continue that. You're not just going to put on 15 pounds overnight.
Right.
If you could, I think we all would try to do that. It takes a lot of time and work. What a stray.
Yeah.
But he'll continue to try and acclimate to that. The biggest thing, though, is
Yeah.
that you need to have the mentality that you
Yes.
can do
Yes.
it, and I think that we saw that. And he had some good runs.
Yeah,
So,
it
lots
just
to like.
it's another weapon. I mean, when you look at this offense, there's so many weapons that have so many different skill sets. Sabrion in the chat, how did Jackson look? I thought Caleb Jackson had a good day. He obviously got a lot of the reps with Caden Durham out. I thought Caleb Jackson looked better as the scrimmage got more physical. Like, as he was able to get between tackles and feel contact and bounce around, I thought he had a good day. Did you see anything specific?
Yeah, I thought he ran the ball well. There's been some issues with the exchanges on the handoffs at times. It's mostly been with Van Buren because typically Durham's been taking the reps with the ones, and he's been with the twos. Didn't see any of that, so that was good. I thought he ran physically. He caught a pass out in the flat on a little swing route and moved pretty well in that. And obviously very difficult to bring down. He had some nice touches in the 2-point session, running it up the middle, catching like a shovel kind of pass from Nuss to get in there. So Yeah, I thought he had a good day. There was one play that maybe wasn't his best. I think they were trying to set up a screen pass or something like that, and he ran into Garrett, and that just completely wiped everything out. But aside from that, I mean, he's looked good in the spring game before. He had a touchdown run last year in a live rep with tackling from like 20, 25 yards out. So for whatever reason, he just hasn't been able to put it together past camp, like in the season. So hopefully this is the year for him. It was probably a good thing that he got some extended opportunities yesterday. You got some more film on him. You got to see him in some different situations. So kind of a silver lining there with Durham not being able to play is that you saw more of Jackson and Barry and even Christian's favorite Malachi Lane and some of those other guys get some good touches. So, I thought a lot to like from Caleb Jackson. Pass protection, too. He looked good in pass pro, picking up blitzers and things like that.
Which is going to be a huge opportunity for him to take advantage of playing time because without Josh Williams, that was your sixth offensive lineman a lot of the times. Like,
Bill Bordelon be damned.
I think back to that Florida game when BT got that end around play and Josh Williams blows up the defensive end and flat backed him, let him hear it. You need the pass protection from the running back position. One guy that stood out to me offensively, and not just because he was in a red jersey, was Kyle Parker. Kyle Parker, I thought, had a really good day. Routes look crisp. He's obviously still recovering from injury, but his routes look crisp. He was running with the twos. He was obviously Van Buren's favorite target.
Yeah,
I think every time Van Buren dropped back, if the pass was completed, it was number 12 on the other end. I thought he had a really good day.
Yeah, quick stuff over the middle, but catches it, eyes are up, gets more yardage. It's the catch and run stuff. And he came on strong at the end of fall camp last year.
Yes.
Made some really eye-opening plays. I think did he have a touchdown in the game against USC?
UCLA.
Was it UCLA? Okay.
Yeah, he had that big one.
That was that deep shot.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was the
Yes.
first. Yeah,
But he did come on strong because that was when Hilton's injury first rose was at the end of camp.
Yep.
And Kyle Parker stepped in and had some really good days.
Yeah, so he's kind of gotten back to that in some ways, and this wide
just for
receiver
clarity.
man. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, that's it, man.
Just because I like seeing it.
Talking about filling a role.
Peel back.
I mean, sit down.
Caleb
My favorite
can do
part.
that.
Yeah,
With
I
the
mean,
ball,
100%.
without the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Look, JD with almost with the block.
No, just kidding.
I'm about to get drafted first overall.
Yeah, no need for that.
Stay away.
Yeah, I liked Kyle Parker's day, though. But with that, Van Buren, I think, again, had a great day.
He did look good as well.
The way that he was going through his progressions, like on a lot of those plays that we've shown already, the Harlem Berry check down, there were some plays in 7-on-7 and stuff where he would go through like 3 or 4 different progressions. And the offensive line has to block.
Right.
That would help.
To get to those progressions, he has to have
But
time.
he did. It's not like he sat on him and then, took a sack or got, happy feet in the pocket and ran into a sack. He got down to his running back. He found the slant. He found the in route. And Kyle Parker was open. So I think it goes hand in hand between those two. It seems like they've got some really good chemistry. So something to bookmark potentially for 2026 or, God forbid, they need that in 2025.
Yeah.
But Kyle Parker's also had some good moments with Nuss. So as soon as he takes that red jersey off, I assume that'll be sometime in fall camp, if not the first practice of fall camp. Another guy to watch out for in that receiver room, which, man, they are absolutely loaded like they are every year. So
Weapons. But all in all, I think the defense was the biggest talking point of Saturday, where for the first time in April, we're sitting here after a spring camp and a spring game saying the defense is ahead of the offense really in Brian Kelly's tenure. Over the last 2 years, it's been far and away the offense has been ahead of where the defense was. And to sit here now, I think that there's some real encouragement that the defense is in such a good spot compared to past teams that haven't been very good defensively.
It's not even the full strength defense either.
Right.
No Perk.
No
Whit.
Whit.
No Whit.
No
Jacobian.
Yep. You're echoing my sentiments.
Yes.
So now it's just about finding some of those unknowns, and I think they have in Delane and safety to be determined still. I didn't see enough to make a clear judgment one way or the other, but some things to be encouraged about back there.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
It's good. It's good to see the defense ahead. And I think that if you're in a perfect world, obviously you want them both to be full power, rocking and rolling in spring. But if you were to pick one side to be ahead of the other, to me it would be the defense. If they're all meshing and working well together, you're in such a good spot. And then through the summer and into the fall, if the offense can get some rhythm, get that offensive line to be comfortable with one another and to perform better, those problems can kind of be solved relatively quickly.
That's the thing for me, offensive line. Like I think you know what you got from a skill position standpoint. Saw it last year. The potential's there. Now you've got to figure out who your top 5 are, and hopefully it's a good gelled group that can block for the run but also pass protect. Because LSU was the worst running team in the SEC last year.
Right.
From a yardage standpoint, really, if you just kind of looked at it optically, you could gather that.
Both on paper and from what you could see on the field.
Like sometimes the stats can be deceiving, but that one was not. So I think that's the biggest question, honestly. That and I don't even know. Like defensively, you answered a lot of questions with
special teams
practice. I think maybe so. Maybe so. You had a blocked field goal, but then again, Damian Ramos hit a 55-yarder with pretty much ease. Grant Chadwick, the punter from Middle Tennessee State,
he had some
pretty good punts. Yep. Peyton Todd, not so much. So to me, that's probably the biggest question is the O-line, which was, from a surface level standpoint, probably one of the bigger questions anyways coming into the spring with the guys leaving and stuff. But you had a little bit of confidence that maybe there wouldn't be that much fall off with the way you've recruited and stuff and the way they played in the bowl game, but not an excellent way to cap off the spring.
Yeah.